Good morning, members of the panel, faculty members and students. It's a privilege to be here, to be addressing you all on the subject, changing business outlook towards HR practices. When I joined consulting some years ago, I was always wondered as to what kind of problems I will solve and what kind of problems my firm will solve. Right? In one of my first meetings with the client, I was amazed at the kind of questioning they did. We thought our job was to go and end up selling engagement, but the client seemed to know much better what he really wanted. He wanted something to do with performance management. He wanted to actually create a culture of performance, not engagement. But we ended up trying to sell engagement to them, right? Because that is bread and butter for any consulting firm. We took a hammer, and regardless of whatever the client wanted, we gave him just that hammer. Right? We didn't really try and understand what he really wanted. But more importantly, the learning that I got out of it is that mostly in business, the business really knows what it wants. It knows what it wants to drive. It knows exactly how fast it wants to drive it. And our goal is to ensure that we end up asking the right questions. We don't end up going there with set solutions. Another client of mine, came to us with a very, very weird question. They wanted to benchmark and they wanted to follow best practices, right? And in a particular stream of thought, in a particular area. But the idea which we propositioned back to them is that you can't just benchmark and you can't just use best practices, right? The best HR practices, while it's good to know, you need to massage it into your organization. You need to make it more centric to your organization. It should be, in principle, something that you can deploy in your organization, something that you can execute to perfection. There's no point in having a great thing that you can communicate and not execute, right? And this is what we ended up taking from one firm to another. It's good to benchmark. It's good to know what's happening in the industry. But more importantly, it's good to know what's right for you, right? So the changing business outlook is more in three phases that I like to proposition this. The first is questioning and acceptance, right? Mostly we don't question why do you want or why do you think this is a priority. Only when you question and you gain acceptance about why you want to do certain things in HR practices is when you finally start having meaningful conversations. The second is about being nimble and simple. Most of the times we craft our answers to simple HR problems in multifaceted ways, and a business guy is not able to understand what we're trying to deliver. So if you say, how do we reduce attrition? We say you got to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And he's like, okay, I can't do all of this. Can you prioritize this for me? Can you tell me what should I do? What is the one thing that I should do or two things that I can possibly do with the resources that I have that can lead me to solve this problem in the short term, that I need to focus on solving this problem in the medium to long term, right? So being nimble and simple is very, very important, right? And most of the time we end up creating very complex solutions or presenting very complex programs and communicating them in an equally complex way so that people then don't realize that, hey, listen, what does this program do versus what is the incentive program supposed to deliver? What is your ESOP program supposed to deliver? Why do we have so many programs? Why are we measuring engagement 4 times in a year? Is something wrong with the firm? Why aren't they sharing engagement results if they're measuring them? So people will always have these kind of questions, and you've got to be very clear in your communication. Therefore, our programs have to be simple as well as nimble. The third thing, even if you have questioning and acceptance, right, and even if you're nimble and simple, you need to have impact. Nobody will care, regardless of everybody accepting a fact, that's important. Nobody will care even if you come up with nimble and simple solutions if it does not create impact. So if you're just trying to address a problem for 1% of your folks in the organization, it's not going to create massive impact. Is it something that's going to dramatically change the revenues of your firm? Is it something that's going to ensure that you have the next line of leadership coming in or adding to the current leadership so that your go-to-market for a particular vertical is fully finalized and ready when you decide to go? These are some of the problems that HR needs to be responsible for, and it can only come when we have a sharing of these goals. I think in the current trends that I see, one of the major contributors to the importance of HR is the HR business partner.